Your phone buzzes with a SNKRS notification at exactly 10 a.m. Eastern. Travis Scott, X Air Jordan, 1 low OGSP olive, draw closed. You refresh the app obsessively for the next 20 minutes until the inevitable email arrives. Unfortunately, you weren't selected. But instead of disappointment, you feel something else entirely: opportunity. Within seconds, you're checking StockX, where pairs are already listed for $800. Retail was $150. The math is simple and intoxicating. You open another browser tab and start hunting. Facebook groups, Discord servers, local sneaker pages. Someone always knows someone who hit on the draw and doesn't understand what they're holding. By noon, you've secured 3 pairs for $250 each through a combination of fast typing, persuasive messaging, and relationships built over months of consistent networking. Your phone calculator shows the potential: $900 profit minus fees and shipping. Not bad for a morning's work. The world sees this as predatory capitalism. People who ruin releases for real sneakerheads and drive up prices for everyone else. You see it as recognizing value that others miss, connecting products with people who actually want them, and getting paid for understanding markets better than the next person. This isn't about shoes anymore. It's about information, timing, and the ability to see money where others see footwear. Dr. Daniel Kahneman's research on behavioral economics reveals why reselling creates such powerful psychological rewards. His studies show that people derive more satisfaction from earning money through skill and knowledge than from passive income or luck-based gains. Each successful flip validates your market intelligence, your network, your ability to spot opportunities that others miss. The sneaker resale game started innocently for most people. Maybe you bought an extra pair of Jordan 1s for your brother, but he didn't want them. Instead of returning them, you listed them online and made $50 profit. That first taste of easy money triggered something deeper: the realization that your passion for sneakers could become financially productive rather than just expensive. But Dr. Mauricio Delgado's neuroscience research on risk and reward shows that successful trading behaviors literally rewire the brain's reward pathways. In each profitable sale releases dopamine in patterns similar to gambling wins, creating psychological dependency on the next flip, the next score, the next validation that you understand something valuable that others don't. You remember your first major flip: Off-White Air Jordan 4s that you secured for retail through a boutique raffle. Resale value, $2,000. Profit after fees, $1,600. More than you made in a month at your part-time job. Earned in the time it took to drive across town and make one eBay listing. That moment recalibrated your entire understanding of what sneakers could represent beyond fashion or collecting. The psychology gets complex when you factor in the community dynamics. You're simultaneously part of sneaker culture and predatory toward it. Fellow enthusiasts see you as someone driving up prices and ruining accessibility. But you see yourself as someone who understands the market better than people who complain about prices while still paying them. You provide liquidity, connect supply with demand, and get compensated for bearing risk that others won't. Dr. Robert Shiller's research on market psychology explains why reselling feels intellectually superior to regular collecting or consumption. His studies show that people derive significant identity satisfaction from believing they understand market dynamics that confuse others. Every successful flip becomes evidence of your market intelligence rather than just luck or timing. The game requires constant education. You study release calendars months in advance, analyzing which collaborations will generate hype, and which silhouettes have lasting resale value, which colorways will age well or poorly. You monitor social media trends, celebrity sightings, Fashion Week coverage, anything that might predict demand spikes before they happen. But Dr. Terry O'Dean's research on overconfidence bias reveals a darker pattern. Traders who experience early success often develop inflated beliefs about their ability to predict markets. In sneaker reselling, this manifests as taking bigger risks on more expensive inventory, holding pairs longer expecting price increases that never come, or expanding into segments where your expertise doesn't translate. The most successful resellers develop systems that feel more like business operations than hobby monetization. They track profit margins by brand, silhouette, and colorway. They maintain relationships with multiple suppliers. They diversify across price points and release types to minimize risk. Some eventually register LLCs, hire assistants, or develop automated buying systems that can compete with bots. Dr. Eilert Fishbach's research on goal systems shows that people who frame activities as skill development rather than money-making show higher satisfaction and better long-term performance. The most content resellers genuinely enjoy the intellectual challenge of predicting markets, building networks, and optimizing operations. The money validates their expertise rather than motivating it. But the psychological costs are real and often underestimated. Successful reselling requires treating shoes as commodities rather than objects of aesthetic or emotional value. You train yourself to see Travis Scott Jordans as $800 profit units rather than beautiful design collaborations. This commodification can erode the original passion that drew you to sneaker culture in the first place. The strangest psychological shift happens when you transition from wanting shoes to wanting the money they represent. Pairs you would have killed to own personally become just inventory to flip as quickly as possible. The shoes that sparked your original love for sneakers become tools for generating revenue rather than objects worth enjoying. Dr. Tim Kasser's research on materialism and well-being found that people who view possessions primarily through financial lens report lower satisfaction than those who appreciate objects for aesthetic or emotional reasons. Reselling can transform authentic enthusiasm into purely transactional thinking, changing how you relate not just to sneakers, but to material objects in general. The community dynamics create additional psychological complexity. You're simultaneously insider and outsider, participant and parasite, member and threat. Fellow sneakerheads respect your knowledge while resenting your impact on accessibility. You understand the culture deeply enough to predict what will be valuable, but you're financially incentivized to make that culture less accessible to the very people who created it. The most revealing moments come during market crashes. When Travis Scott faces controversy and his collaborations lose value overnight, or when Nike floods the market with retros that kill resale prices, successful resellers adapt quickly while others panic. These moments separate people who understand business fundamentals from those who were just riding hype waves. Here's the counterintuitive truth that most people miss about sneaker reselling. The most successful long-term players genuinely love sneakers and sneaker culture. They resell not because they don't care about the shoes, but because they understand their value so deeply that they can recognize when that value isn't being properly reflected in the market. Which reveals something profound about the intersection of passion and profit. Expertise in any domain creates opportunities to monetize that expertise. But monetization changes your relationship to the domain itself. The reseller who started collecting because they loved the aesthetic of Jordan 4s ends up viewing them primarily as financial instruments with profit potential determined by supply, demand, and market sentiment. In the end, that $800 flip from the Travis Scott draw isn't really about shoes or money at all. It's about the distinctly modern ability to transform cultural knowledge into financial opportunity, to turn enthusiasm into expertise and expertise into revenue. The sneaker becomes a symbol of every passion that could become profitable, every hobby that could become business, every form of cultural participation that could generate income for those smart enough to see markets where others see only community. The question isn't whether profit corrupts passion. It's whether passion refined into profit can retain any of the joy that sparked it originally.